The repetition all through this reading of the law of the Lord, of Israel, of the presentation in the temple, are sufficiently clear that we don't have to emphasize any further that Jesus comes from the ancient Hebrew tradition of the people of God, that he was presented to God as the law of Moses prescribed. And so our connection as Christians with the Jewish faith of the one God who has embraced all of us should be more than clear. But the words that are most significant in this reading, read by the old man Simeon. If you look at the cover of your missalette, you'll see a picture of an old man holding a baby. That's Simeon holding the child Jesus, bringing together the old and the new, bringing together God's people, whoever they are, bringing them together. And he says at the end of that little passage, this child is for the revelation of God to the Gentiles and to Israel, bringing people together. The dream of unity exists in all of human history, all of human hope. And of course, it has always been dashed terribly. The very first pages of the Bible, we find one brother killing another one. And all through history, the separation of people, of tribes, continues. And we have it today going on in the world. We have to acknowledge the reality of disunion in the world. We see it everywhere. It's present in politics, among nations. It's in our church. There is not one church. There are many. They've been separated for centuries. There have been attempts to bring them back together, but they remain disunited. The world that we live in, our own country, we fought a terrible war between the North and the South over slavery, the basic fundamental sin of this country, on top of the genocide of the native peoples who lived here. Separation, violence, all of it with us still today. We go across the water, look at Britain. Terrible things will happen as a result of the separation of Britain from the European Union. For 1,000 years, the peoples of Europe have fought wars with one another. And finally, in 1945, they said, no more. We're going to come together to make one great union. And now that union is being separated. The thing that we have to do about that is to look at the reality. We can't escape it. We can't make believe that it's not there. Separation and its anxiety, or civilization and its discontents, are always with us. The world is always with us. We live in this world, not some other. This world is disunited and struggling. People against people, human beings against human beings. In spite of the fact that the Son of God, as we said in the opening prayer, became one of us. We have to look at the failure of humanity, to look at the plan of God for uniting us all together. How do we survive in that kind of disunion, that kind of violence that's present everywhere? It's a little bit like going through a fog. The fog surrounds us. It's there. We can't deny it. The fog is there. But we need some kind of light to guide us through the fog. The fog is not going to completely dissipate. But if there's a light, we can go little by little, take steps, small steps, and move forward. There are two things by which we do that. The first is our confidence that in spite of it all, there is goodness in the world. There are good people. We experience that. We know that people can be kind and generous and compassionate, even as they are evil and vile and violent. The two exist side by side. We allow the consciousness of human goodness, which we try to practice in ourselves, allow that to guide us through the fog, through the night in which we live in this world. St. John at the beginning of his gospel said, "The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness cannot overtake it, cannot overcome it." So for us, the main light is the light of Christ. Jesus himself is the light of the world who guides us through this world. And Jesus is also the one who said, in the words of St. Paul, he has broken down the wall of separation in his own body when he hung on the cross. He has broken down the wall. And so Pope Francis has reminded us, as Christians, we don't erect walls, we build bridges. We welcome people. We don't shut them out. Now you may say from a political or economic point of view there may be some limits to that. Okay. But the fundamental principle that we live by is that we do not erect walls to keep people out. We build bridges to bring people together. The bridge is Christ. Christ is the light. Our faith in him brings us together this morning to celebrate this Holy Eucharist, in which we remember that he died and rose again for our life in this world, and to be always for us the light that guides us in the darkness and the night. For that we give thanks. Eucharist. The highest way in which we can worship God is to give him thanks for all that he has done for us. Let us never forget Christ, the light, who guides us through the world, and give thanks for this and for all his gifts.